Hello and welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to work with variations on nonlinear transforms in the Flame editor of Swan. Overview. This topic deserves a separate video because variations are extremely important. Perhaps the most important element when creating fractal flame artworks. They're what make flames so incredibly versatile with virtually unlimited possibilities. Swan currently includes 636 nonlinear transforms that you can choose from, and you can combine almost any of them in any way you like, which means there's truly a huge playground for experimentation when working with variations. It was an interesting design challenge to create the user interface. For example, when you have over 600 variations, how do you choose the one you want? How do you remember what they do? And how do you know whether a particular variation would work well in your current flame before you actually add it? The user interface was designed to solve all these challenges. So let's dive in. Basic user interface. In the user interface, you'll see each nonlinear transform as a separate node, displayed as children of the corresponding X-form. By clicking on a variation node, you get an editor to modify all parameters of that variation, plus a secondary preview that shows the influence of this particular variation. This secondary preview is extremely helpful for understanding what a certain variation does and how its parameters work, because it shows only the influence of the single nonlinear transform rather than showing the complete X-form or flame. Types of variations. There are two types of variations, 2D and 3D. For 2D variations, you'll see a 2D preview showing how the variation deforms a 2D plane. For 3D variations, you'll see a 3D preview showing how the variation works on a 3D grid with a certain depth. You can zoom this preview independently from the amount setting of the variation. The amount setting also enlarges or shrinks the size, but additionally affects the overall influence of the variation. For variations that also change the color of the fractal, called DC variations, you'll see schematic colors in the variation preview. Keep in mind, these are not the actual colors, but rather indicate how colors will be transformed. Changing variations. To change an existing variation, press the Browse button. This will open the variation browser. The variation browser lets you access all variations by selecting either a category or searching by name. Each variation has one or more categories, also called features. When you select a category on the left, only variations with that particular feature are displayed. You can also type part of a variation name for additional filtering. To find frequently used variations more easily, you can mark them as favorites and then display only your favorite variations. You can browse through all variations and change parameters directly to see what each variation does. To help with this exploration, there are two previews available. The variation preview, which shows only the influence of the selected variation, the flame preview, when selecting a new variation or changing a variation parameter. This change is temporarily applied to your current flame, so you can see the effect before actually committing the change. This is only for preview purposes and doesn't actually modify your flame. For some variations, you'll also find a description, sometimes with a link for more information. Additionally, you can view the GLSL code for all variations. This is especially useful if you plan to create your own custom variations. You can copy the code of an existing variation and modify it as a starting point. Adding new variations. To add a new variation, open the Add Node menu and select Add Variation. This will also open the variation browser. Any changes to variations or variation parameters can be undone at any time. After we have seen how to add and modify variations, let's discuss another important topic about variations. Execution order of transforms. Variations or nonlinear transforms are part of the affine transforms of an X-form. All transforms together, both linear and nonlinear, define the influence of the whole X-form. The individual transforms are executed in this order. First, the regular affine transform, then all of the nonlinear transforms, finally the post-affine transform. So the nonlinear transforms are executed between the affine transform and the post-affine transform. Variation priorities. You can change the order in which variations are executed by changing the priority of the variation. There are 5 priority levels, with normal being the default. To force a variation to be executed before other variations, so that the other variations use its result as input, set the priority of that first variation to pre. Variations with pre-priority essentially modify the result of the affine transform before the variations with normal priority are applied. This concept can be a bit tricky to grasp at first, so I encourage you to experiment with it. To have a variation be executed after other variations, set the priority of that variation to post. The other priority levels give you even more control, but they are rarely used. In most cases, you'll work with at most one pre-variation, some normal variations, and perhaps one post-variation. Please note that there are also many variations with a predefined priority, which is different from normal priority. They have usually a name prefix pre or post, but you can change their priorities too. There is also a very special type of variations. The pre-post variations. They contain 2 nonlinear transforms, one regular transform and the corresponding inverse transform. They will execute the regular transform at pre-priority and execute the inverse transform at post-priority. This is a shortcut to achieve certain effects which would otherwise need a more complex setup of variations. You can't change the priority of pre-post variations. This is the end of this video. Thank you for watching and see you in the next. Bye.